The Lonely Island is back again, this time partnering with Hulu to bring us a brand new show about the cringeworthy years we spend in middle school. Guys, today Linda and I are reviewing Hulu's new pilot, PEN15, and we have plenty of thoughts, so stay tuned.
You're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
The buzz is beginning here on AfterBuzz TV, Linda, because we are talking about this wild new pilot. I know most of you guys probably haven't seen this yet because it actually doesn't come out till Friday.
Yep.
Hulu was kind enough to send us screeners.
Yes.
And as you guys will see, I think this is a pretty divisive show. I do not think Linda and I are on the same page this week,
Definitely
which is
not.
kind of exciting to me. But Linda, hi.
Yes, hi.
It's good to see you.
Good to see you. Hi, guys.
Linda was just telling me before we went live that you had a great red carpet at the Lego movie
I
premiere.
did. I had a great red carpet. Will Arnett was the highlight of the day, and it was exciting. Yeah.
How do both me and our adoring fans watch these interviews of you on the Lego movie?
If you want to see our interviews, you're going to go to another site.
URWeb, right?
Yeah,
Great.
URWeb. And,
They're good to us. They're friends. We're friends with URWeb. So.
Or you can check out my Insta stories.
Perfect. Well, guys, as I mentioned today, we are covering the pilot to PEN15. This is releasing Friday, but Linda and I did watch the pilot and the pilot only. To be clear, this isn't an after show, guys. This is solely a review show, and we are giving you our thoughts on just the pilot of Hulu's new show, PEN15. That's what we do every week. We review pilots. That's all. We're not an after show. Thank you for understanding. My name is Jeff Graham. I didn't introduce myself yet, but that is in fact my name. I'm a TV fanatic and a critic, and we do it all here.
That's right. And I am Linda Antwi, and I love everything pop culture.
Except this pilot.
Except for this pilot.
We are going to watch the trailer right now, but quickly, guys, just so you know, this is a show starring two adult actresses who are reliving their middle school years as if they're living in the 2000s, and all of their co-stars are actual 13-year-olds.
Children. They're 13-year-old children.
And our protagonists are acting as if they are also children. So let's go ahead and watch this trailer now.
Seventh grade is gonna be so amazing.
It's gonna be really, really good.
It's gonna be like the best year of our lives.
Shuji, get off AOL!
I feel like we should make a pact.
Let's like do everything together.
Yeah, no doubt, like all our first together, like our first kiss.
Hey, Anna, did you? I was just looking for my Discman.
You're 13, and you're still playing with dolls?
How dare you do this to me, bitch?
Alex broke up with Heaven. It's happening. I guess he like loves me or whatever. I'm really, 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 really sorry.
The production design is so spot on for 2000.
I mean, absolutely.
There's stuff about this show that's working.
Yes, I'll say that for sure.
Okay.
Alone, bitch.
Did you drink this beer?
Maya, we're gonna be supermodels.
I don't know what you're doing here, Maya. You know, you almost look like you were missing. And I know you're not, because you're right there.
Thank you for the note.
It's a good joke.
What if Brendan wants to kiss me tomorrow?
Are you guys talking about masturbating?
It's just porn, dork.
Why do you think she'd lie?
She might be going through something that has nothing to do with you.
Maya!
What's the smell?
Make me feel so good.
I don't want to do 7th grade.
You are my actual rainbow gel pen in a sea of blue and black writing utensils.
We remember gel pens.
Yeah, duh.
Rainbow gel.
1,
Yeah.
2, 3.
Okay, PEN15. For those of you guys who haven't seen the title spelled out, podcast listeners, just picture the word PEN15 in your head, and I'm
you'll figure it
sure
out.
you can figure out what this show is referring to. Linda, you start. What do you think of the pilot?
Okay, so I'll start with the trailer. The trailer is way better than the pilot. Way better.
I agree.
I think that the pilot bored me. It was only, 24 minutes, and halfway through I was like, it felt like an hour.
Yeah.
I do think that the writing is spot on. I think that the actresses are spot on acting the year 2000. But do I think that they are acting those parts? Absolutely. Like, I don't buy them as 13-year-old
So
girls.
okay, I'm confused. You're saying they're doing a good job of creating the period, but they're not actually embodying what a 13-year-old girl is like.
I'm saying that they're doing a good job embodying the year 2000. I'm saying that they're adult actors acting as 13-year-olds.
Yes.
Very well. I just don't buy them as the 13-year-olds.
Oh, you're having trouble disappearing into the show.
Maybe that's it.
Yeah,
But,
or like
I'm
letting
looking at them like, why are they acting so ridiculous? Like, it's almost like I know that there's a movie out there, and viewers and podcast listeners, if this makes any sense, please do comment. But there's like something where an adult, oh, you know why? It's because it's coming out. That movie that's coming out where...
Shazam.
No, it's not Shazam. It's one of the actress turns into a child, but she's still an adult, but her body is a
Like
child.
13 going on 30.
Something like that.
Okay.
But not that, because they're supposed to be 13, and they clearly are not.
See, I know what you mean, but like I am okay with this kind of broad comedy. This is a very broadly drawn sketch-esque comedy. It's being brought to us by Andy Samberg, Jorma Taccone, and Akiva Schaffer, who are the Lonely Island. You guys know them from their SNL digital shorts. And I think that tone is very pervasive in this show. They created another show you hated and I loved called Alone Together, which unfortunately Freeform said goodbye to, even though I love that show.
Surprise.
I am loving everything about this show.
What do you love about it?
I think it's hilarious, for one. I think it's weirdly heartfelt, and I don't think the show is afraid to explore the horrors of how challenging and cringeworthy middle school are. And I gotta say, our leads, who are Maya Erskine and Anna Konkle, I think are nailing all of the weird quirks and uncomfortable tendencies that middle schoolers lean into. And they're doing it in such an astute way that they are kind of disappearing for me.
I think they're doing that. I'm looking at them like, no way. There's no way you're 13. No way.
But does that induce comedy for you to watch these adults?
It's confusing to me because I'm thinking like, what are you doing? Like, I understand it and I appreciate the period because this is like my period. And so all of these, like the pen and like thinking everything is a big deal. Like, oh my God, my first day, what am I going to wear? I relate to all of them. I think it's funny because it was so serious back then.
Right.
But like, I guess, like you said, I don't feel like I'm having a hard time. I just don't buy that they're 13.
So, if these actresses were played by really talented teenage comic actresses, do you think you would have liked the pilot?
Probably.
Interesting. Because for me, it's a win-win. And I think that's totally fair. And unfortunately, there's nothing the show or you can do about that.
Oh, absolutely.
Because that's going to be a hurdle through. They're the protagonists of the show, and they're 31-year-old women. For me, it's a win-win because some of the time they are disappearing enough that I am buying into the suspension of disbelief that you need to buy these scenes. But when they're not, the novelty of having adult actresses around all these children is enough for me to just think it's hysterical. So either they are disappearing in these moments and I'm buying it, or I'm not and cracking up at the fact that this happened. So yeah, I think that's an inescapable hurdle for you to probably like the show.
I wrote down a quote from an article that I read online. So there are moments you forget they were adults, and there are moments when the fact sticks out like a sore thumb, and that's how I feel.
Yeah, that's fair. I was reading some coverage too, and Rolling Stone was saying that the further you go in the series, the more easy it is for them to disappear into these roles.
And you know what? I agree with that. But here's the thing, Jeff. Since we are a pilot review show, and we're only basing it on a pilot, how well the pilot is done, I kept thinking, like, why do I care about this? Why do I care about what makes this show and their middle school experience special? And so this 24 minutes, I don't know, it didn't pull me in.
Guys, Siri wants to join the conversation too.
She does.
Maybe Siri liked the pilot. And she says it was a great question. Siri, calm down.
Calm down. We're on air. You're embarrassing me.
Yeah, that's such a built-in part of podcasting now. Even like Terry Gross with Fresh Air will have iPhones ding in. It's the new world we live in, guys. That's fair. You know what? I think, and here's what I will say. Watching this pilot, I liked it, but I do think there might be a better version of this show, and I'm doubting that the pilot is actually living up to the potential of what this show is and will be. And we are a pilot review show, so as much as I loved it, I couldn't help but think a couple times, I think there's more here.
Yep.
I don't think the pilot is, and even though I loved it, I do think probably will be better episodes down the road.
I'm sure there will be, but the pilot was not it for sure.
For you. For me, the pilot was. So Linda and I are mixed, which is awesome. We're allowed to disagree.
Yeah, I mean, we've been agreeing a lot lately.
It's been too much agreement.
Yeah, so this is like back on track.
This is back on track. Linda, are you a pass or play? And do you recommend audiences pass or play?
So I'm a pass for myself, and I'm a pass for audiences, which is big because I'm usually like, oh, you should check it out.
Yeah.
Don't waste your time. 24 minutes. I mean, if you have a spare 24 minutes and you want to feel nostalgic and you're a millennial and you want to relate to a lot of stuff that happened to us back in 2000, then, sit down and have a glass of wine and watch it. But if you feel like there's so much out there and such great content out there that your time is limited, this is not the show to start with.
Guys, don't listen to Linda. I'm a play. I loved it. And I think fans of shows, we'll go over this more specifically, but if you like a show like Big Mouth, and I don't remember, where did you land on that show?
I liked it, and
You
that's
did
what
like
I
Big
said.
Mouth?
Big Mouth.
We think
Freaks and Geeks.
We're Freaks and Geeks.
Napoleon Dynamite.
Yeah, these are good
Legend.
references.
That's not this.
Yeah, I think that's this. So if you're a fan of those kinds of shows, watch the pilot. Don't listen to Linda. No, I mean, obviously, Linda is my brilliant co-host, and I respect her opinion, even if I disagree. But yeah, it's good we're mixed on this because it'll lead to an interesting conversation. Just so you guys know, this is the point in the show, and we will start to dive into more specific spoilers. You've gotten both of our hot takes on just our overall thoughts on the show, but at this point, we'll be going into specifics about the show. But before we do that, Linda, you have a message for our wonderful fans.
Hey guys, before we move on to our next topic, we just wanted to say thank you for making us the ESPN of TV talk. For us to continue to grow, we could use your help. If you're on YouTube right now, which I know you are, you're listening on iTunes, hit that thumbs up button and subscribe. And if you're on iTunes, please give us a 5-star rating. It really does help us. But no matter where you are, leave us a comment so you can get involved in the conversation. Being a part of AfterBuzz TV has meant so much to all of us, and we truly appreciate you supporting us and doing what we love. Don't forget to tell your friends and keep enjoying our shows.
Wonderful. I love it. Guys, this network has meant so much to Linda and I. I didn't even know I wanted to be a host. Just so you guys know, I started at this network behind the scenes. I was producing and guest booking, but our CEO and founder, Keven Undergaro, put me on air and was like, you got to try this, Jeff. And it's opened up a new phase of my career that I never really knew I loved. So that's an example of kind of the spirit that really drives this network. And we thank you so much for participating with us. Hit that thumbs up, and it's the least you guys can do to support us. And we really appreciate it. Those 5 stars on iTunes go a long way too. So
Way long.
we really appreciate it. Okay. At this point, as I mentioned, we will be spoiler-filled. We're going to talk about the cast and then kind of go over the specifics of this pilot. And we have some more segments later in the show. But for now,
Spoiler alert!
Spoiler alert.
thank you, Steve Egbert, on the soundboard, always on top of it. Linda, can you take us through this cast?
Yeah, so the first star of the show is, and if I'm butchering the name, I apologize, Maria Erskine.
That feels right to me.
Okay, and you know her from Casual. I love that show, another Hulu
Yeah.
Exclusive. And then Anna Konkle.
I'd say just Konkle
Konkle.
is what I would guess.
And you know her from Rosewood. I absolutely adore her as an actress, and I loved her on Rosewood as well. So, again, my pass is real. It's serious business. Next, we have Taj Cross. I don't know him. He's a young kid. I think he's probably a preteen, if not teen. But he does a great job in the pilot. And next up, but definitely not least, we have Lincoln Jolly, the object of Anna's affection.
With the honeydew eyes and the mahogany crested hair.
Right. Where, they have a little interaction in the pilot that just crushes her, basically. And last but definitely not least, we have Tony Espinosa, who's another Maya crush.
Yes, the love triangle.
The love triangle.
Between 2 13-year-old boys and a 31-year-old woman.
Exactly.
Here's a question, Linda. We've been dancing around the fact that, well, we mentioned it, this show features 2 adult women flirting with, having uncomfortable conversations with, discussing not safe for work topics with literal 13-year-old boys. Is this premise just inherently too uncomfortable for you to enjoy the show?
I definitely think it's weird.
Yes.
But again, then I did my research because, that's the type of person I am. And I know that as you get into the series a little bit more and they deal with these awkward sexual situations that, we have all gone through, they have stunt doubles. So the women are actually not interacting with the kids on a physical level like that when they're acting at all, which makes sense to me and makes sense considering they look like 31-year-olds to me.
Right.
hanging out with 13-year-old kids.
That is good to hear. If there are ever going to be actual physical situations that involve the inevitable coming of age sexual experiences that we have when we're about 13, 14 years old, they bring on non-minors.
Yeah, so they bring on minors to deal with minors, right? So
that makes sense.
Instead of the 31-year-old having like her first kiss with a minor, they bring on another minor with a minor or an adult with an adult.
That makes sense.
But what I also did read was that a lot of the times they have the situation, so they've written the situation, that's the awkward situation, and it's not the two stars of the show, it's their perspective on that. So, for example, if it was the first kiss.
A flashback.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. So I gotta say, Maya Erskine and Anna Konkle, who play our two lead protagonists, these 31-year-old women playing middle schoolers, they co-created the show.
Yep.
It's really their vision and energy that's fueling everything about this show, the aesthetic, the comedy, their, I think, comedic point of view and their performance is really what the success of the show is hinging on. Mm-hmm. I think it's working so well. I was so impressed by both of their commitment to bringing those weird specificities that come with being 13.
They're nailing the acting.
Yeah.
They are. And Maya is an amazing physical actress. Like that scene she does in the front of her classroom, that was cute. And it was funny because she owned it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just the premise.
I'm not doubting that. Like, I definitely think that these are great, strong actors. And I like both of them a lot. I just think it doesn't work in this environment.
For you.
For me.
So here's what I'll say, though. I thought this show was just going to be this broad, kind of toilet humor-driven comedy, but there were some real emotional moments in this episode. If you guys have seen it at this point, we'll just let you know. The crux of the plot for this pilot revolves around the fact that Maya, who is our Asian character, right?
Correct.
Great. So she finds out at first that she thinks she's the most adored and beautiful member of her 7th grade class, only to learn that she's been named the UGIS, which is a very mean and bullying acronym, which stands for the ugliest girl in school. Mm-hmm. And the heartbreak and the true pain that she experiences when she learns that, I felt.
Yeah, I felt that too. And I loved the experience she had with her brother and how, because, you know, I have brothers and that's exactly how it was, where you go to them because they're older and wiser and they're like, get away from me, we're in school.
Right.
But then when something really, really is happening, you can go to them and behind, like back home, they'll be like, oh, you know, you're okay, whatever. So all of that was very touching and very relatable. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think they do a good job with that.
Okay, so I have to ask you, Linda, and you can be as open about this as you want, but you mentioned before to me on air and off air that you're from an immigrant family as well. Could you relate to that component of Maya's story?
Absolutely.
It's because for those of you guys who haven't seen it, one of the first scenes is she tries to cut her hair to look like Evan Rachel Wood.
I've been there, done that.
Was it Evan Rachel Wood? No, it was Jennifer Love Hewitt. One of those like 3 name female actresses that were so common in the 2000s.
It was. I felt like it was the Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Oh, Sarah Michelle Gellar.
That's who it was.
Thank you. I knew it was one of those, I have 3 names and I'm a teenage girl actress.
Yeah.
But you have a story?
I do have a story.
Share it.
So it's the same story, basically. So going into the 8th grade, actually, I saw this woman and she had her hair done. Now, you know, having black hair is a whole thing to deal with as it is, but she had her left side shaved off and then the angle and then it was long on here and I loved it. So my hair was all one length, had never like got trims and stuff, but my mom was really like strict about it. And so I went behind her back and found out like who this lady was because she was a hairdresser. And I took a bus and let's just say I took like a bus for 45 minutes, which is a big deal, long way away from home.
Hell yeah. You said you were in 7th grade?
Going into 8th grade.
Okay.
Yeah. And on a weekend, didn't tell anyone in the family, but came home with this haircut that I thought I was going to love it. I loved it in the salon. I loved it on the lady. But as soon as I got home, I freaked out and started bawling because it looked crazy all of a sudden. And I was like, where's my hair? And my brothers were like, oh, you look like a boy and all this stuff. So,
Linda.
I've been there, done that.
Oh,
been there,
7th grade Linda sounds adorable.
Oh,
you made it through, though.
I made it through, and the hair grew back, and it was all good.
Linda, it sounds to me like you like this show.
I can relate to it. It's my age bracket, so I can relate to it, but whoa.
Yeah.
I just think it's weird. I just think it's weird that that it's like they're playing with children.
There's an inherent discomfort for you.
Yeah.
I think that's totally valid. And I think that's going to be a huge hurdle for a lot of people watching this show because we didn't mention it, but this is without a doubt an R-rated show. In the same way that Big Mouth is the most R-rated, unfiltered look at middle school. And here's what I'll say that I bet the reason Big Mouth works for you and the reason this might not. Big Mouth gives you like the separation because they're animated.
Yeah.
There's this inherent way you can easily distance yourself from the premises because you're watching a cartoon. Whereas this, we are watching real people and potentially easily traumatized children reenacting graphically uncomfortable middle school moments.
Yeah, and what if these children who are really children have not had that moment yet?
It doesn't bother me.
Oh, see? Well,
I'm a soulless.
Maybe I'm like overthinking it.
No, maybe you're like the actual like one with a soul and a heart on this show, and I'm just
thinking,
like, make them say the F word.
Yeah, well, that was the thing. Like in the car, I wrote that down. I was like, Mom in car doesn't care about the language, the F word.
Yeah.
Suck my balls. Like my mom would freak out.
I actually agree with you. I didn't buy that.
I was like, she wouldn't turn around and say, hey, whatever. Like I what?
Yeah.
So that was my first like, oh, this is going to be a thing. Okay.
I think my final takeaway, and I know you have a lot that I want to hear more on, but just like as an overall thesis statement with this, I really think the people that like this show are going to love it, and the people that don't like it are very much going to dislike this show.
I think you're right. And I think that, I think you're right. There's no middle ground with this.
I don't think so.
Yeah, because I wasn't like, oh, I'll give it another try. I was like, nope.
Yeah.
And you obviously love it. Mm-hmm. So we definitely want to hear more about what you guys think if you guys are into it when it comes out.
Linda, you're our research genius, and you always come with the sharpest analysis on this show. Do you have anything else that we haven't talked about that you'd like to touch on?
I thought what was great about this was middle school is like this. And what I thought that these two actors did very well was that propping each other up during that difficult time in life where you're awkward, but you're it is a story about BFFs, and it's a story about we're going to be in it together and we're going to get through whatever is going to come our way, where you're in a period of life where everything is unstable and unknown, right? You're like dealing with hormones and you're dealing with like still being a kid, but like a teenager, but not a preteen, but not quite old enough to really know anything. So I thought all of that was embodied well in this. And I think what was interesting about this is what makes it work for me for writing was how accurate it was. Like the writing was dead on. Like it took you back to the 2000s without them, like in the beginning they're like 2000, but that's it. Like they didn't have to say, oh, well this is like Kid and Play or whoever.
You're
right?
Sometimes shows are so heavy-handed where they'll be like, well, with Y2K happening this year because it's the year 2000.
Yes, I hate that. And so the only reference that was made was the Care Bears, which was adorable, but with the boy with the Care Bear shirt.
But I did see like a Korn shirt, which I loved. I saw a Slipknot shirt. I was just like, they're nailing this.
They're nailing it.
And the music is so good.
Without having to say it, which I appreciate. So I appreciate the writing and I appreciate, like the design of the set and all of that. I'm just having a hard time buying these two as 13-year-olds.
I get that. And the truth is, that's probably an inescapable premise problem for you, which is totally fine. I think it's the engine of this show. So even if you like all the other parts of the car, you need to like the engine, and
That's
it sounds like that's not enough, which is totally valid. And I am especially curious about a show like this, what our fans think. So I don't want you guys to forget that we do have a comment section right down below here. We've had some nice comments lately. We have our like small but loyal audience who always hops in the comments below. So let us know what you guys think. And I know the show comes out Friday, but this is a show that I think is definitely at least worth watching the pilot because it's so specific. However you feel about the show, there aren't many like it, so I would advise you guys to take a look.
So, like we said earlier, if you like a show like Big Mouth, or Freaks and Geeks, Napoleon Dynamite, or Sex Ed on Netflix, then you will definitely like this show.
I think My So-Called Life, too, is a great antecedent for a show like this, especially because it's so female-driven, which I appreciate. It's nice to see the female lens of the middle school experience versus the male.
Now, Maya and Anna are actually really good friends in real life, and this comedy is based on their actual experience, which explains why they decided to cast themselves as the protagonists.
I love it.
Of the show. So Yeah, and then the other thing I wanted to say, it's produced by Awesomeness TV, which
I saw that.
they're doing a lot now. They're really like coming out.
They're
with
trying to
stuff.
be awesome.
They're trying to be awesome.
All right, we got to rate this pilot, Linda. We got 5 stars, and we have to let you know how many stars we would put, which is just the most awkward way to say that we rate these pilots out of 5.
Right.
Sometimes I forget how to host, just like right then. I would give this a 4.1 out of 5.
Holy caramba. Yeah, so for the pilot alone, I'm going to say 1.5.
Ooh!
And only 1.5 because the writing is solid and the acting is solid.
Okay, fair enough. Well, I'm giving it a 4.1.
We are way on the spectrum, way.
It's good. That's why I'm so curious to hear what audiences think, because I get this is going to be a polarizing show.
And you know, maybe you guys will like it, and maybe there's something I'm missing. And if I'm missing it, please do comment and let me know. I will read all the comments and respond.
We always read the comments.
Yes, but
Well, I'll be watching, Linda, and if there's a huge turn, I will let you know. And I'll let you know that you should hop back on the train. I think it's valid for you to have, structural problems with the show. And I think they probably aren't changing, but I'll let you know because I'm going to keep watching.
excellent. I do hear
Well-
it gets better, so
We'll see.
if that's anything.
Linda Antwi, any final thoughts on PEN15?
I'm loving original programming.
Yes.
So keep it up, all these streaming services, because I'm loving it.
Yes. Guys, this has been TV Pilot Reviews here on AfterBuzz TV. Thank you so much for tuning in. We love having you guys here. My name is Jeff Graham. You guys can find me on Twitter at Jeffrey C. Graham. Also, I want to just make a quick another show recommendation because I know you guys our audience specifically is always looking for new shows. Hulu actually purchased the rights to BBC's Butterfly. Have you heard anything about this
no,
show?
I haven't.
Really good. I covered it here at AfterBuzz. It's only 3 parts. It's a 3-part BBC miniseries. It's
I love
such a you show, Linda.
I love British shows. I'll check it out.
It's really good. Speaking of teenagers, it follows a 12-year-old boy who comes to the realization that he's trans. Then so you see his journey from he to she, however comfortable or uncomfortable you are with the newly emerging trans movement, this show is very, very empathetic, well written, well produced, and a very warm and challenging in the best way take on trans issues. Super character driven. Highly recommend that show. Check it out on Hulu. Yeah.
Check it out on Hulu.
And Linda, how about you?
Guys, you can follow me all across social media or hit me up at Linda is so girly. And next week, same time, same place.
Guys, we'll see you. Just what Linda said. Same time, same place next week. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Our founder, Keven Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.